I grew up in a big, loud family where love was always a fight. My parents' marriage was a battlefield, with my mom and dad constantly at war. I vowed to do better, to build a life that was peaceful, happy. I met Ethan in college, and he swept me off my feet. He was charming, handsome, and ambitious. We got married, and I thought I'd finally found my happily ever after. I remember the day we moved into our dream home, a beautiful house in the suburbs with a big backyard and a white picket fence. Ethan took my hand, and we walked through the empty rooms, imagining our future. "This is it, Ava," he said, his eyes shining with excitement. "This is where we'll build our life together." I felt like the luckiest woman in the world. But that's not where I am now. Now, I'm standing in a crowded room, surrounded by the people I thought were my friends. The sound of shattering glass fills the air, and I see Ethan and Rachel, my best friend, my confidante, my betrayer. They're looking at me, their faces twisted in shock and guilt. I feel a cold smile spreading across my face, and I think to myself, it's over, it's all over. But how did I get here? I rewind back to a few days ago when my life was still perfect. I was an event planner with a successful business and a loving husband. Ethan was an entrepreneur with a thriving company and a charismatic personality. We were the golden couple, the ones who had it all. But then I started noticing little things. Ethan was working late, and when I asked him about it, he just shrugged it off. "I'm stressed, Ava," he said. "I need some space." I gave it to him because I trusted him, but the doubt started creeping in. I'd find strange texts on his phone from numbers I didn't recognize. When I asked him about it, he just laughed it off. "You're being paranoid, Ava," he said. "I'm faithful to you always." I wanted to believe him, so I did, but the seed of doubt was planted and it started growing. One night I was working late, and I decided to surprise Ethan at his office. I arrived, and I saw him through the window, laughing and talking to someone. It was Rachel, my best friend. They were sitting close, their faces inches apart. I felt a pang of jealousy, but I pushed it away. "They're just friends," I told myself. But as I watched, Ethan reached out and touched Rachel's hand, and I saw the way she looked at him, with a spark of attraction in her eyes. My heart started racing, and I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I didn't know what to do, so I just stood there, frozen. Ethan and Rachel didn't see me, and they kept talking, their conversation flowing easily. I heard snippets of it, something about a meeting and a project. But it was the way they looked at each other that made my blood run cold. I went home, my mind reeling. I didn't know what to think or what to do. I felt like my whole world was crumbling. I confronted Ethan that night as soon as he walked in the door. "Who was that woman?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Ethan looked at me, his eyes narrowing. "What are you talking about, Ava?" he said, his voice smooth as silk. I took a deep breath and I showed him the text messages, the ones I'd found on his phone. Ethan's face changed, his expression shifting from calm to guilty. "Ava, I can explain," he said, but I cut him off. "Don't lie to me," I said, my voice rising. "I saw you with Rachel, what's going on?" Ethan sighed, and he rubbed his temples. "Ava, I don't know what to say." I felt a cold fury rising up, and I knew I had to get out of there before I said something I'd regret. "Just tell me the truth," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Ethan looked at me, his eyes filled with a mixture of guilt and fear. "I'll tell you everything," he said, "but you have to promise not to judge me." I promised, but I was lying. I was already judging him, and I was finding him guilty. Ethan told me about the affair, about how it started a year ago when he and Rachel were working on a project together. He said it was a mistake, that he loved me, and that he wanted to work through this, but I didn't believe him. I felt like my whole world was shattering, like I was living in a nightmare. I confronted Rachel the next day at a coffee shop in town. I was shaking with rage, but I kept my cool. "We need to talk," I said, as soon as she sat down. Rachel looked at me, her eyes wary. "What's up, Ava?" she said, her voice casual. I took a deep breath and I let it all out. "I know about you and Ethan," I said, my voice low and even. "I know about the affair." Rachel's face changed, her expression shifting from calm to shocked. "Ava, I can explain," she said, but I cut her off. "No, you can't," I said, my voice rising. "You're my best friend, Rachel. How could you do this to me?" Rachel looked at me, her eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, Ava," she said. "I was weak, and I made a mistake." I felt a wave of anger wash over me, and I wanted to hurt her to make her pay. But I kept my cool because I had a plan. I was going to make Ethan and Rachel pay, but I was going to do it my way. I was going to gather evidence to build a case against them. I was going to take them down, and I was going to enjoy it. As I sat there looking at Rachel, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. I knew what I had to do, and I was ready. "You have no idea what I'm capable of," I said, my voice low and even. Rachel looked at me, her eyes wide with fear, and I knew I'd said enough. I stood up and I walked out of the coffee shop, leaving Rachel behind. I was just getting started, and I was ready for whatever came next.